Hey guys, welcome back to live stream. We are in the shop working on our shop build for the Peace, Love, and Van show coming up here at the end of this week. We've got a couple of items that we're knocking off our list. We've got to put in the breaker that we assembled yesterday. We're going to connect the exhaust and intake to the Webasto Airtop Evo 40 gasoline heater. And then we're going to start to cut out the outlets for the top and bottom receptacles for the kitchen galley. So in this live stream, we're probably only going to get to connecting the Bluesea Systems 360 1210 series, the thing we talked about yesterday. So I've got that up on camera, and we're actually going to wire it during this live stream. And yeah, if you guys have any questions between now and then, put them in the chat. Happy to answer them. But that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We're just going to be working in the shop, connecting some wires, and answering your questions in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and hop in the van and just get started. All right, I'm going to see how much you guys can see this panel. I might reframe the camera here just so you can see what's going on. We'll zoom in for the wiring. That's the important part, but as far as showing you guys the panel, yeah, you can see that pretty well on camera. I'll zoom out just a little bit. So in this build, we really want to keep everything nice and clean, and we don't want to clutter too much up. So that's why we have this very, very compact power system. If you guys have watched the channel before, we'll talk about this after we get done wiring. But essentially it's a 600 amp hour lithium iron phosphate system, 2 DC to DC chargers. And then we got the Victron Links distributor that is handling all of our high current loads and high amp fuses. All right. So filming wise, let me see how I'm going to actually do this here today. So one wire that we'll have to run towards the end is this wire right here. And this goes to the, this was the 12 volt power supply to the circuit board of the Bluesea Systems breaker. So we'll actually have to do that. And then we've got our corresponding wires down here. We've got our number 2 outlet, so that's the bottom one for the kitchen galley. We've got our number 1, which is the top. And then these two, I goofed on them and I didn't label them, so it doesn't really matter. What we're going to do is both of these are plugged ends. And what I was telling you about in the last stream is they have LED indicators on which one is going to be powered on. So I'll just turn the breaker on, turn one of them off, and then that'll identify which output that is on the other side. And then right here we've got our big chunky 8 gauge input from our 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter, which is the Renogy Rego. That's their off-grid Bluetooth controllable inverter charger. Which allows us to connect direct to shore power and then power everything through this if we want to, if we don't want to use the battery system. So I think I'm actually going to back the camera up, get you guys a little bit bigger field of view. So I'm going to wire this up later, but what I actually have is a sub panel. I think I'm going to have to widen this camera out even more. See if that's going to work. Yeah, that's perfect. Excellent. So over here, you see this little red plastic box over here. It's got 3 fuses in it with 1 more left. So this is a terminal fuse for the car style or like automotive fuses. So instead of the big terminal fuse that we were doing on John and Susan's van, these are the ones that are more, you've seen them, they're more popular. They're the ones that you see in cars. If I can actually take one out. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But this one, we have 1 more left, and that is for our power for our fuse block. Now, we've got this for all kinds of stuff. So in here, we've got our 12-volt supply for our sense wire for the Dometic RTX 2000 rooftop AC. We've got another sense wire, our power supply actually, for one of our Renogy components. And then the final one, we've got a power supply for our Victron. We actually have a Bluetooth shunt that you can connect to your iPhone or Android and manage the or find out what the voltage is of the battery or stated charge. Renogy has its own baked-in stated charge with the M1 controller that we have with this van, but I wanted to have a secondary shunt just to pretty much verify, because I was using 2 systems that I haven't used before. Anyway, the point is this thing is very convenient to continue to add circuits to your power system over here, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a fuse panel that's maybe inside the van and you don't have any power over here where your batteries are, because you're typically just using a high current load. So these big mega fuses, you're not really needing a smaller 12-volt power supply. And I would suggest always using a fuse instead of just directly connecting low current wires to the battery terminals. I see that a lot. So this is the right way to do it. And these are very small fuses. I got a 2 amp, 2 5 amps. So they're very small, but they're there to be a place to tap into power easily. So while we have some access, we're just going to feed this wire and kind of work it behind our DC to DC chargers. And then we're just going to leave it right there because we're going to manage all this later. To get to this wire, I'll have to take this top lid off. I'm modifying this front face to get an extra bolt right here, just to hold it in more secure. So that's in another part of the video. All right, let's just start knocking this out here. So the tools I'm using, I got this rotary, what do you call this, wire stripping tool. It's more for big chunky wires like this. All you got to do is take it, loop it around, and then by doing this, it'll actually cut the wire cleanly, and you can dial in the depth so that you make sure that you don't score the inside wire. So this is #1 tool I use. The second one is this Klein tool. So it's 11061. And this is a really fast way to crimp all these connections. And then I use this Cobalt non-insulated and insulated wire crimper. You get a lot of leverage and it doesn't kill your hand. Because if you use the cheap all-in-one strippers, when you go to crimp it, it doesn't give you enough leverage and it can really wreck your hands if you're doing a lot of wires over time. We've got a couple of heat shrinks that we're going to be using. A little bit of an overkill, but it's just, it's what I do. So we're going to actually, after we crimp this down where this plastic is, I like to put just another piece of heat shrink here so that it securely holds this onto the wire. And then over time, we don't have this thing, this piece of plastic. Because sometimes when you crimp it, this can be damaged. It shouldn't damage, but it's happened sometimes, and I just put this on top of it just to keep it secured. So we're going to do that for the 8 gauge wires. When we get over here to the ones going to the outlets, we're going to heat shrink this part right here. And so that will do that. Don't think we're going to heat shrink anything else really. No, so that's about it. Yeah. So we'll just flip this around. Now, in hindsight, I will say I bolted in this 500-pound heavy-duty drawer slide from Flatline Vanco. It's awesome, but in hindsight, I should have done the design I wanted to do, which was install 2 pieces of L-track, or 3, and then actually mount this on top of L-track so it could be removable. I got a little too close here, so it's completely doable to get these panels in because that's how I designed it. But if I could have given myself maybe another inch, it would have made things a little bit easier, especially for connecting the outlet to the gasoline heater. Also, you know, just future improvements. I put this here because that's where I've normally put them. It's a nice flat surface in front of the wheel well, and it makes it extremely easy to install these heaters. However, I do now understand why underneath the passenger seat is it's a little bit more challenging of a position, but it gets this heater out of the way. And I think the downside that I heard were it was taking the cold air and then reheating it, but these things are so powerful that that's not even a question. So if you're worried about trying to keep the heat coming out of this warm and you think it's inefficient in the front of the van, just ignore that. These things are extremely powerful and they'll surpass that. So if you want to put it in the front, I think that's going to be my new default. Even though it's easier and a flat surface to mount it, I'd like to have this open up because I could have actually put about 800 amp hours of batteries in here, which would have been awesome. But right now we just we did 600, and for me 600 it was about the minimum in my recommendation if you have a rooftop AC or a 12-volt rooftop AC. All right, so we're gonna get these wires. And for this one, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can start to see this. See the process take place. I'm also using a drill, Phillips head screwdriver, and those other tools that I was showing you guys. So the first ones we're going to connect are the big ones. We're going to make sure that we connect the heavy duty stuff first, and then we'll get to this the other stuff in just a second. And we got a lock washer that we actually need to go pick up from the workbench really quick. All right, excellent. Okay, so for our main wires, we want to make sure that, just need to do a little test install here to make sure that we can reach all of our locations. All right, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take a little bit more off this housing because my the ground is a little too close. Now the hard part about what I'm doing here is these big chunky wires, I'm trying to find a way to actually strip them. It's pretty challenging. If you guys know of a tool, I know there's a tool out there for this marine stuff, but I haven't found it. So if you know a tool that makes what I'm doing here easier to do, definitely let me know. Because again, the challenge here is you don't want to score the wires underneath. Especially with this system, because we got so much power. So 3,000 watts is quite a bit. So I just put some pressure and bend on it, and then you kind of like cut it, and it just kind of melts away. So, but if you nick one of these wires, it's not going to be good. Make sure you give yourself enough room, because you're pretty much just going to need to go back and do the whole thing over again. I mean, you do not want one of these arcing on the aluminum. So. All right, we're going to get to our first one here. So we're just going to measure where this is going into the cap. We only want to cut off as much. Now I'm kind of teaching you guys here. Obviously, I would not take this long to do all these steps. But we have this part in the cap where there's like a dip. And so that's where the metal starts, and this extra part here is just a shroud to kind of protect the wire. So really that tip coming out, so say 1/4 inch is kind of where you want to go. So when you go to strip it, just do a little bit more than 1/4 inch. And you can use the cap for reference. You just don't want the wires hanging out the back. So once that one's stripped, just go ahead and twist it. Make sure you got enough coming out, and then just gonna kind of twist it on. And then if there's a little bit of wires coming out right there, I just kind of move back just a little bit. Make sure I got my heat shrink on. Sometimes you need to put that on before you do the wire. Make sure you got a good connection, and that's pretty much it. When you go to heat shrink, you don't want to have this obviously covering that hole. You want to come back so that when you go to put this down wherever it's going to go, that the heat shrink is actually not being smushed. Which may sound obvious, but I've also seen people do that as well. Okay, Jamie said heat gun for the win. I do like this cordless, but it's really not powerful enough for a big chunky stuff. So what you're going to need to do, I'm going to pull out the corded one really quick. All right, this is the one that should do. This is much faster. And if you can, I highly recommend getting the heat shrink that has the sealant on the inside, One, sealant is good. It doesn't let, you know, stuff get in there to do corrosion if you were having this in more of a damp environment. But the benefit of the sealant is also, it kind of gives you an idea of how hot it's on the inside. So when it starts to kind of ooze out, that's an indication that you've got it hot enough. Now this gauge of wire is pretty much the limit for this crimper right here. Technically 12 is a limit, but I've found that if I actually take my fingers and I push on these teeth up here, I can get by with actually having it help me crimp that edge or crimp that off. So always put your heat shrink on before you finish. And I'm using red for all of these. I guess in the perfect world you want to use all black, so it's kind of non-discriminate, but I think we'll be all right. And because of your 8 gauge, I really try to get on that crimp and really make sure. I'm not really worried about the plastic, like I said earlier, because I've got the heat shrink to really kind of clean everything up afterwards. I know I'm breaking my heat shrink rule, but these are big enough to get over the ends. Trust me, done heat shrink where I've actually had to cut the wire and fix it. Okay, so these guys are ready to go. So we're going to get this first one put into place. Be careful, they're still super hot. This one I actually want to add a washer to. There's a pretty good benefit that happens when you do the heat shrink. The heat absorbs through the copper and kind of warms up this whole entire piece of cable. So before, where it was really stiff, now it's actually pretty pliable, and it just makes it easier to install. All right, so one of my cables I need to, let's start off with these yellow ones. The top two are going to be my outlets, so I already have them defined, and I know what they are. But this ground, so I'm doubling up on just this one terminal because my bus bar over here doesn't have enough terminals. So I'm just going to take one of these and start with it. Same thing, just take your what you're going to be crimping it on and check the size. You might see me trim some of these with scissors. It's because these, if we crimp it wrong, I need these to be more precise because I'm not going to be using heat shrink on them. I'm just going to be crimping this piece down. So I don't want any wires exposed. See, so let me put these on. See, do I have enough heat shrink for that? See, if I have enough heat shrink, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I have any more of this size. If I do, we'll heat shrink it. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of heat shrink. See, if you heat that up, you can move it really easy. Okay, so now after that's all connected, I'll do this. Then when we get finished, we're actually going to have a cable wrap that goes around, and we'll have all these shrouded right here. Now, if you weren't doing this, you wouldn't have these all pre-screwed onto here. It just would be a little bit of a faster process, but I did that yesterday so I could have like a visual aid to show you how we were going to connect it today. Okay, I'm already noticing that I need a little bit more room on these. Okay, so number 1, we want that to be on the top. This number 2, we want it to be second one down. Really doesn't matter. It literally just comes down to where you want to put the stickers. See if I can get you guys an overhead shot. We're getting ready to move this, and it's going to look a little different. So one thing that's tricky with this location that I have here is 4 screws of this panel will have to be loosened so that this can go recess, the panel can go in, and then this module can actually go back into where it's supposed to go. And as we're heating these up, if you can just kind of keep, just gently pushing them down, what you're going to create when it cools is this really nice place where the wires just kind of settle where they need to go. And they kind of just conform so they're not, going anywhere where you don't want them to go. Because we actually have a specific path. We have a channel up here that you guys can't see. The wire goes up and around, up underneath the battery area, so it's away from the heater. So this 12-volt wire I actually need to reroute. Have it go on top. All right, guys, got a couple of people on the live stream. Don't forget to check out the new Van Builder HQ website. A lot of awesome blog posts on there. We got electrical, we got some solar info in the blogs, and also lighting ideas, kitchen galleys, and stuff like that. So yeah, check it out. You can also grab the DIY Van Build cheat sheet. So all this stuff like this, these tools, stuff that I use here that I bought on Amazon and in the shop are on that list. It's completely free to help you guys out. It's got over 250 items on the list. They're all organized, and it's basically an Excel spreadsheet that I put together. So go ahead and grab it. It's free, and I think it'll really help you out in your DIY van build. It's called the DIY Van Build Cheat Sheet. Okay, we've got this pretty squared away where we want it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these wires together over here. The bottom one's going to be separate, and then these the 110 lines are going to have some wire loom put around them, and then we're going to put this into the cabinet. Back the camera up just a little bit so you can see what's going on. For this, we've got let's see, right about there. I'm going to pre-cut some electrical tape just to help us put this together a little bit easier. Now, besides the standard gauge wire and kind of everything that we're putting together here, I know this doesn't look that typical of a breaker system, but I am really into building these very compact, space-efficient systems. And this breaker is just awesome. I mean, it's very small. It does exactly what it needs to do, which is trip the circuit, and that's really its only job. But yeah, it's really just space savings, low profile. And for this, I want my seam on this left side because the stuff I want it to be protected from is on the right. Come on. Okay, so that's that part. Now we'll just do the inside, do a piece on the middle, and do a piece on the end, and we'll be all set. If you're doing this, you don't have to be so neat. I prefer making everything nice and clean. Okay, so these are our outgoing wires, so they're nice and protected. Actually, I'll probably do 2 more reps. It's a little stiff, so those wires pop out easier when you have more wires in there. So you might need to do a couple of reps. And I would suggest you always cut it with a pair of scissors. If you tear it off, it's going to create an edge that's going to just want to come off. It's not going to seal proper. Okay, so we've got our main ones going out. We've got our main coming in that we've left independent so we can stuff it back into the system when we go to put it back on. This 12 volt is to the circuit board of the breaker that controls the lights. And yeah, let's attempt to put this in. Now, one thing that we are aware of is we're going to have to take this off the front. This isn't going to move. This is on the back panel, as you guys can see. And then just as a precaution, I forgot to do this. So we're going to put a couple pieces of tape on these terminals. Now, you should always have the system powered off, but if for some reason you or the next owner doesn't really know what they're getting into, and somehow they have this on without shutting it off, it's good to just cover anything that can arc. So we're just going to clean this up here on this edge. Look at that, we got our own nice little protection. So all these wire protected, we've got a heat shrink, all this stuff. So really we just want to make sure there's nothing really poking out. Everything's nice and clean. Yep, so I feel good about it. We're just going to do a little test run, test fit, and then we'll actually do the work and trying to put that on. I just want to see if the way that the wires are going to go in is the way I planned them to go in. See, we're going to get a bigger camera view. Okay, so now this, as you guys can see, we have some relief. We got some relief with this box. So we're just going to come over here. We're going to connect our heat duct. So what we're doing now is we're just pushing back the main input so that it is out of the way. Let's see, everything else looks good. We're going to adjust this top part. So for some reason, Blue Sea Systems, if I had a recommendation, is these plates on the outside, they don't, once you take them off, they don't snap on. So that doesn't snap on. It screws on from the back. So if you're in this scenario where I can actually only pull that out this much, you're going to need a special tool like this where you can get behind there and kind of ratchet it closed. Now, I probably should have done this before I got to this point, but the stickers go on the outside, so this isn't going to mess up if you were putting the stickers on. And then even the second one, see, the screws are on the back side. Okay, so now to finally install this. One thing we want to do is go ahead and turn the breakers off, just so if we get excited and we want to turn it on, we don't make any of the wires live that we haven't capped off. Okay, so now we just have this bottom plastic bit right here. We're just going to snap on, and then we got this top piece. It's got our 120 volt AC on it. And there we go. So that is our breaker panel installed. So this will be controlling all of our circuits in the van. Doesn't necessarily need to be somewhere where you can reach it all the time. You know, this is in the back of the van, so if something pops, you can come back here. But yeah, this is where we installed it, and finally done with that. So we can check it off our list, and we can move over to the 12 volt. But yeah, let's see. Oh, the thin ratchet tool. Yeah, so this is it's a Cobalt just mini ratchet set. The number is 239459. So let me go to the computer and put that in the chat. Actually, we'll just hop on the computer and I'll show you where you can get it. It's awesome. I've used it for a bunch of stuff. All right, guys, thanks for staying on the live stream with me to knock that out. Yeah, a lot of planning went into that because it's a really tight spot, and just like Thomas's van, the Marine One van we did, there's limited places to put stuff in the van when you're trying to consolidate to make sure you have a lot of space in the van. So typical van builds, you'll see these big towering structures underneath the bed to the left and the right. And they're really open on the inside. So that's a lot of wasted space if you don't turn it into a storage area. So I tried to, in this van, just really consolidate that space into something really, really tiny. Let's see here. Okay, let me get to the ratchet before I get distracted again. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Well, I can pull up the Amazon link too. Okay, so I'm going to put in, this is the tool. And then this is the link. So yeah, this might be something good to put on the DIY van build cheat sheet. How much is it on Lowe's? I just saw it on Lowe's. Hold on. I just realized I'm not showing you guys the part. So here is the tool. Cobalt 10 piece, number 4. Steel handle ratcheting multi-bit screwdriver. Why is this so big? There we go. I've also used this Craftsman. I like this Craftsman too. This one too. Yeah, they're awesome. So just a heads up, the Craftsman, these bits fall out of the Craftsman really easy. So I would get the Cobalt, pretty expensive. It's $55, but I mean, to get into a tight space, I think anybody would pay something more. But the reason I like it so much is it has this, here, I'll show you on camera. It has this, if you look, see this, get in focus here. Come on, you can do this. Is this camera not working? Let's try that. There we go. So see this? This has a pin in it. And so that pin, when it goes in, it locks it into place. The Craftsman one I found, it falls out. Plus it has this little knurled end that you can twist. So yeah. That's a number on it. Yeah, I think it's a good tool. So let me hop over here and I'll show you. Zoom this camera out. Okay, so that's what, this is where that breaker is in relationship to the rest of the system. It's right down there. I just didn't want to put it underneath the sink where the 2 gray water tanks are going to be and the water pump and just taking up space to try to hide all those wires in there. It just seemed like that would be a better place because it's extremely rare that you're ever going to throw a breaker on that circuit. It's more of a just, a standard safety measure precaution. But yeah, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the left side, hook that 12-volt wire to it. I'm going to cap off the other side and give it a test here this afternoon. But that's pretty much for the live stream today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to fast forward through any of these live streams. I know they're long, but I think they're helpful if you've never done it before and you want to actually see the whole entire process, not just a time lapse. Yeah, so that's about it. If you haven't checked out the DIY van build cheat sheet, definitely go over to vanbuilderhq.com. Not only do I want you guys to check out all the blog posts that we have on there with a bunch of information from the shows that we've gone to, stuff that I've done in the shop, all here to help you out with your DIY van build. For example, the Ultimate Camper Van Flooring Guide. This is a big article that goes through. We got a video showing you how to install a DIY floor, all the layers, how to plan, what you can expect when you're setting everything up, sound dampening, insulation, subfloor, top layer. Yeah, the whole process. So if you want to have a deep dive on that, check that out. Yeah, but otherwise, the DIY van build cheat sheet, that's something I definitely want you guys to grab. It's completely free. It's essentially an Excel sheet of over 250 items that I've purchased over the last 3 years in the shop. It's everything from solar panels to tools, the stuff that I use on a daily basis, and it's free. So put your name, email address, go ahead and grab it. I think it'll really help you out on your van build. If anything, it's a place to start to find products, and it's a list that you know that I've actually purchased. So stuff that's on that list has actually been shipped to the shop. I've used it in some means, either on my personal van or customer vans. And yeah, don't forget to check out Odyssey Custom Vans. That's my custom van conversion business. So the vans that I build here on Van Builder HQ are the Odyssey Custom Vans. I have customer vans. The vans that I worked on, the van I worked on today is the shop build that we're doing, showcasing for the expo shows, as well as Peace, Love, and Vans, which is an awesome event that I think you guys should check out if you're in the Florida area, because it is happening this weekend. We're traveling down there Thursday to set up. The event starts on Friday, and it lasts through Sunday. And camping tickets are sold out, but the day passes are still available. So definitely go ahead, pick one of those up. Come meet me, say hi. I'll be at a booth. There's tons of food. There's live music. And just as last year, there is hundreds of vans. Last year, there was over 300 vans. I think it's going to be closer to 400 or even more this year. So it's just a really, really cool event. But yeah, hope to see you guys there. There's also a lot of other sponsors that'll be there at the show. So Van Life Outfitters is who's putting it on with, I shouldn't say, good Lord, can't talk today. Sunshine State RVs, Freedom Van Gogh, and Victron. They usually have some booths, so they're the big sponsors. And then a bunch of us down here at the bottom. So Rover Vans will be there, Moxie, Live More, Embassy, a couple other, Site 7. You guys have seen some previous videos from me. Scala Vans, Scala Conversions will be there. And some others that I haven't actually met. So I haven't met Lumbercraft, Warhorse All-Terrain. I haven't met them. I've checked out Van Wife Components booth before, those guys. Checked out Backwood Adventure Mods. Yeah, and then there's us, Odyssey Custom Vans. Yeah, but just a bunch of people at the show. So yeah, look forward to meet you guys. Come by and say hi if you're going down to the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Odyssey Custom Vans, the van that we're working on, it is for sale currently. So if you guys are excited and want to check it out in person, it'll be at the show, like I just said, or you can check out these photos online. We'll be doing a deep dive video on it pretty soon, probably when we get back to the shop after the show. And if you're interested in purchasing the van or having your own van custom built by myself, this is the contact information. The best way and easiest way to contact me is this link right here. So click that to schedule a call. It'll pull up my calendar. All you got to do is just pick a date and a time. We'll hop on a phone call. We'll talk about the vans that are currently for sale as of filming this video, or we'll hop over here and do a consultation and see what you guys are looking for in a custom van build. So excited to talk with you either way. But that is the contact for Odyssey Custom Vans. Guys, make sure you are subscribed to Van Builder HQ YouTube channel. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it to anybody that's working on electrical in their van, specifically breakers, 120-volt breakers that we did in this video. If you have any questions, I'd love for you to ask them during the live stream. But if you miss the live stream, put them in the comments section, and I'd love to answer them in a future video. Until next time, we'll see you guys on the next live stream.